In this episode of the Easy Hard versus Hard podcast, we start diving into the topic of easy hard. What is easy hard? How can you determine if the work you're doing is easy hard? In this episode, I will give you some examples of how I came up with this concept and some personal stories about the negative impact in my life that easy hard work played. This one's deeply personal and passionate to me. I hope you enjoy. Hey, welcome back to the Easy Hard versus Hard podcast, a podcast dedicated to helping you find the work that matters in your life. Today, we're going to discuss the concept of easy hard. I know in the introductory podcast, we've briefly discussed easy hard, but I want to go into a little bit more detail before we go on to how we can work to identify the easy hard, eliminate it from our lives, and start going after the hard, the work that actually matters in our life. Easy hard is basically two things. Easy hard can be work that has a defined path. If you do X, then you'll get Y. But easy hard can also be work that you're doing that doesn't feed your soul. This can be work that looks impressive or is done on a corporate path or what you think you need to be doing to advance. But easy hard, when you do it for someone else or for other gain, it's not for you. And that doesn't mean that doing a corporate acceleration and doing impressive things can't be hard. I'm not saying that at all. What I'm saying is that if you spend all your time, energy, and effort doing something that you don't want to be doing, that alone is easy hard. Oftentimes, easy hard will burn you out, give you frustration. This is where people see the lack of productivity, the lack of purpose, the lack of meaning in life. All the problems that we discussed in the first few episodes are amplified and oftentimes caused by easy hard work. So let's talk about the easy path. The easy path it's probably the lesser of the two easy hard categories because it's just a formula, right? If you go to the gym 5 times a week, most likely you're going to lose weight. Okay. So in and of itself, that's not bad. The problem with easy hard in this case is that if you are so formulaic in your approach to something, there's very little room for growth. There's little room for finding out how you need to do something. Okay. As I've told you, I was able to lose almost 180 pounds at one point. And if I gave you my formula, I don't know if it would work for you. Now, sure, you'd probably lose weight short term, and then you'd have to find out if your body adjusts to it. But we're also different. And what I see is a lot of people get into these formulas, and there's a host of them out there. And I'm not saying any of them are good, bad. I'm just saying there's a lot of them. And the more you get into this mindset where I've got to follow this formula, I've got to follow this path, I think it limits your growth. And then this growth limitation starts hounding you and starts taking away your purpose, your meaning in life, right? Because you're not individualizing what you're doing. You're just following my path or someone else's path. And then when you don't get the results that you want, you don't know where to go, right? You're not taking the time to learn, to assess where you're at. And part of the biggest challenge to finding a path like this is it takes you away from really understanding what you want out of it. Keep using the weight loss journey. If you just want to lose weight, that's probably not enough to sustain you. right? Because you're going to get the result, and then what? A person that motivated me and inspired me in my journey was a man named David Goggins. And one of the things he's famous for saying is, what are you going to do when the music stops? Well, if you're on a path and a program that gives you step-by-step directions, what are you going to do when it's over? I've seen so many people drop 30, 40, 50 pounds. The program ends, and then they go back to their old lifestyle. They didn't grow during this point. They thought that just doing this process would get them, the results they wanted, and they could stop. Well, the music stopped, and they did too. And therefore, all the work that they did didn't work out. So, like I said, the defined path, I believe, is an easy hard. Again, I'm not saying it's good or bad. Like if you're in a degree program or something, they lay these things out to you. And if you do the work, you're going to get the reward. That doesn't mean it's bad, right? Because you're going to be learning and going along the way. The point of all this is make sure you are learning along the way. Make sure you are paying attention to what's going on. Make the process your own. It's got to be for you. Don't fall into the trap of doing what I say or doing what someone else says. Do it. Modify it, make it your own. Okay, so the bigger part of Easy Hard is the work that's done for others, the work that doesn't truly feed your soul. And this was something that I had to learn because for years I was chasing what others wanted. I was spending time, energy, effort, always doing something for someone else, without ever taking the thought or the consideration of what I wanted. Now, serving others is very important, but in this case, I'm not talking about serving others. I'm talking about trying to impress others, trying to make yourself acceptable to them, but at the same time, robbing yourself of what you want to do. So I started my journey with weight loss. And at first, that was easy hard for me because I was following a formula, as we discussed earlier, and my motivation wasn't really for me. It was for people to stop calling me fat and, just be more accepted by others because I had gotten to a point that I didn't like, but it wasn't for me. So what did I see in these cases? I saw, well, I do the work, but yet it was also very easy to make excuses or reasons not to do the work on a certain day. If someone called me and said, hey, let's go do this, I'd probably skip a workout. And, you skip one workout and you skip two. And then before you know it, it's been a week since you've worked out or whatever. It wasn't until I wanted to take this journey and really work on my physical health because I believed that it would help my mental, spiritual, everything about me if I could just start moving my body. It wasn't until then that I became serious. It became something that I did to something that I always did. Working out, working on my fitness became a non-negotiable for me. What did this mean? If I had to be in an office early, I'd wake up at 4 a.m. I'd get my workout in because I know me. And I know that at the end of the day, I run out of energy and I'd come up with excuses. So I just took that off the table because I wanted it so much. Losing a few hours of sleep 1 or 2 days a week didn't bother me. I also started scheduling my life and work around my workouts. I never had a day that I didn't have it blocked on my calendar. Now, that doesn't mean it was the same time every day. I was a little bit flexible. But at the same time, I would say no to things if it meant I couldn't get my workout in or do what I needed to do that day. The beautiful thing about being connected and that becoming my hard work was that I really was able to assess how, when, and how and why I was doing this. But it also allowed me the flexibility to spend 20 minutes one day, but 2 hours the next day, based on the fact that I knew what my body needed, and because it was for me, I was more flexible in my approach. And that's one of the beauties of hard work is when you're doing work that matters to you, it doesn't have to have a set duration. It doesn't have to have a set format. It just has to be something that needs to be done. Another example of an easy hard for me is when I first started my doctoral journey. I told myself that I was doing it because I wanted suffering and I didn't like reading and writing. So what better way, after I got an email saying, hey, join the doctoral program, open enrollment kind of thing. And I just called them, and within a week and a half, I was starting classes, right? Well, I didn't know what I was getting into. And my real reason wasn't because I wanted to do something hard. My real reason is I thought I would impress others by becoming a doctor or completing something that very few people do. And it got to a point midway, I think I finished my 8th class, where I just was so burned out and so disgusted with the time, energy, just the way this was consuming my life, that I stopped. And I told my wife at that time, I said, I'm going to take a semester off. And if I can't come back and make this mean something to me, I'm not going to come back. If I'm going to allow this accolade or this degree to overtake my life, my social well-being, my mental well-being, it's not worth it. Well, one semester turned into 2. And after the 2nd semester, I started getting fidgety, and, there were a few classes that were upcoming that I really wanted to take and dive into that material. So I gave myself grace and I took one more class, and I said, hey, if I can do this class, I will continue. If I can manage this, I will continue. Well, much like the working out, because my mind shifted and changed, and this became something that I wanted to do, not because of the title or doing something difficult. It was because I wanted to learn this information. I wanted to challenge myself to see if I could do this. I wanted to learn the research skills. Because what I was beginning to see was that my hard was to help others. Well, one of the best ways you can help others is through research and be able to organize your thoughts and synthesize information. So when I restarted the program, that was my focus. And I tell you what, it never really became a challenge to me in the way it had before. Sure, the work was difficult. Sometimes you were up against deadlines and things weren't coming together like they should, but it was different. I didn't dread sitting in the office at 4 a.m., whatever time it was, up and late in the hours of night. I enjoyed it because the purpose was greater. It was something that I truly wanted to do. So it was after I started looking at these 2 instances that I was like, man, what other areas of my life have I been doing for other people? And there's just a whole host of them. Well, what I found was I was living most of my life for others, not to serve others, but to impress others. And once I started digging deeper into this, I found that I was trying to impress others, but I was also trying to impress myself. Somehow I didn't feel worthy. I didn't feel like I was good enough. And so I kept putting more and more on my plate. All of it easy hard, right? To the outside observer, I've been told by many people, you're the hardest working guy and all this stuff. But that didn't bring me joy. That didn't bring me satisfaction. That didn't bring me peace. And I can tell you what, it didn't help me like myself anymore. What I've found in talking to hundreds of people since I had this revelation, that so many of us are in the same trap I was in. I certainly hope not to the same degree where I was miserable. I was depressed. There were days that, I thought it would be better if I didn't wake up the next morning. All terrible things which by the grace of God has now passed. And by doing the hard work, I've been able to then work on myself and really get in touch with my emotions and my feelings. And my wellness is so much more than a number on a scale or how many push-ups I can do or pull-ups or all those things that get you to a point, but don't really matter if your soul and your well-being suffers. For me, it was all shifting to hard work. Once I took everything off the table that wasn't for me, that wasn't to promote what I believe, my purpose, my meaning, all the things we talked about before, Once that was gone, I was then able to excel. I was able to excel both in my productivity, my time management improved, everything about my life improved. I truly believe that if most of us take time and find our easy hard and then shift to a more hard mentality, you are going to see results that I can't even guarantee you the results because they're going to be so great. If I told you what the changes that your life would take, you'd be like, oh, this guy's a quack. I'm not listening to this guy. He's trying to sell me something. Well, I'm not selling you anything. I'm just telling you. I'm telling you that if you can align the work that you're doing with what you truly want, you're going to have joy. You're going to have focus. You're going to have self-determination. You are going to be able to take yourself to heights that you never thought possible. And you're probably going to do this and have more free time to either spend time with your friends, your family, take on new efforts that you want to go after. It's going to open your world in ways that truly, I hope you'll take this process as we talk about over the next few weeks and months and apply it to your life. Because only if you apply it will you see this. If I could bottle this or put it into a pill and give it to everybody, I would. But you can't do it because you've got to separate yourself from what you're doing now, the easy hard, and make that change. So ways you can, basically decide is the work I'm doing easy hard is, the first question was, does it bring you joy? Are you happy with what you're doing? And I'm not saying, we're not all happy all the time, but overall, are you getting joy? Are you getting satisfaction out of the work you're doing? Do you have to, find the inspiration from others? Do you find yourself procrastinating while you're doing the work? If so, it's probably not the work for you, right? It doesn't fire you up. You're not determined. You're not all in on it. So that's the first one. And joy is like one of the things that I know people talk about. And again, I'm not talking about your day-to-day job, because until you truly find what you want to do and work that matters to you, we're all going to have a job. And I am not one of those ones who say burn all the bridges. Don't burn everything down to start all over again. Start over again where you're at. Start applying what you want to do to where you currently are. And then you're going to get the courage, the skills, the knowledge, the abilities to then move forward. But don't try to start from scratch, because then that's going to bring a whole nother stress and frustration to you. So find that joy. And if you answer the question, no, this doesn't bring me joy, then really sit around and think about something that does bring you joy. It could be something simple like gardening or walking your dog. That's a start, right? Because even though that's not technically work, gardening, of course, is, but it'll do more of that activity. Get out there and do it. I saw a therapist to try to help me along in my journey, and the therapist asked me, like, what's the one thing you really love to do? And believe it or not, what I really love to do is mow the grass. So she then said, well, how often do you mow your grass? Well, due to a surgery I had a few years ago, I had outsourced my grass mowing. So it had been 3.5, 4 years since I mowed my grass. And it was very simple, but after we talked about it, she asked me what I should do. And I said, well, I should start mowing my grass. And she even said from her medical opinion that mowing the grass would be the greatest treatment for me. So what did I do? I started mowing my grass. Well, because I enjoy that so much, I then can use that time. It's about an hour and a half a week. And because I'm in such a great state and happy, the smell, seeing the rows, one be higher than the other. And then once you're done, you see, a messy yard become a clean yard, whatever it is, it opens my mind. And the thoughts that I have and the progression I've got on other projects I'm working on while I'm mowing my grass is just so amazing, right? So this is just one example, and it's a very simple example, and it's a hobby or, an additional work that I do around the house. But what I'm saying is, imagine if you could take not an hour and a half, but your 8 hour day, or your, 4 hours that you're not working, or whatever it is, and tap into that joy. Like, bam. I mean, you just don't even know where this can go, right? Another way you can find if something's easy, hard for you is ask yourself simply, am I doing this for me, or am I doing it for others? And really be honest with it, because a lot of times we get confused, right? Because society says, hey, you should do this, this, this. And so therefore you believe that what you're doing is for you, but is it really for you? Do you really care about anything other than the end result? Are you enjoying the process? Are you enjoying the learning? If the answer is no, then most likely you're doing it for someone else. Now, sometimes we need to get things to advance our careers and provide more for our families. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about your general day-to-day. What is your decisions when you make something, right? You can always sidetrack something. Well, this is my job and this is how I make my living. And so I'm going to do this. And you may not particularly like it, or it may be done because someone told you to do it. That's not what I'm talking about. What are you doing in your off time? What are you doing to self-develop yourself? Which, I haven't talked about this before, but while I'm on it, I think self-development is something we all need to do. If you are not developing yourself or trying to improve yourself, you're not going to be able to find your easy hard, and you're certainly not going to be able, or identify your easy hard, and you're not going to be able to transition into your hard, because self-development, getting better every day, improvement is what this is all about. Because if you're not improving, you're just going to be stuck in easy hard. So we can just say, like, non-improvement is easy hard work. So there's another one that's a free one. A lot of people will say, I want to be the best version of myself. I hate that statement. If you are the best at something, there's no room for improvement. So just be the better version of yourself. Go out there, try to be better every day. So again, that was a little sidetrack, but so we've got, does it bring you joy? Are you doing it for yourself? Are you doing it for others? And then the last thing is, what is your emotional state and physical state while you're doing the work that you're doing? If you're drained and it's very difficult to move and you're just exhausted at the end of it, I really would question, is this the work for you? Because when you do find your hard and you start going after the work that matters to you, you can be tired, but it's a different kind of tired, right? It might just be like, hey, I've made so much progress, or I moved the ball so far today that I'm going to take a step back. But when you are doing the easy hard work, and because it's not for you, it doesn't fill your soul, the tiredness is just draining you. Because not only is the work draining you, but your emotional, your cognitive, everything is kind of blocking you. Like your brain is telling you, I don't want to be doing this work. It's not something I care about, but yet you still do it because, you're just pushing for someone else. So I think that's a very, another great way to identify the easy hard. And of course, there's probably many other ways that you can identify it, right? I mean, I think everyone here gets the point that finding work that that aligns to you, and we can talk about values, we can talk about all kinds of whatever word suits you. It's what drives you. What would you do if you had no responsibilities and you just wanted to work on something to better yourself? Is it writing a book? Is it losing weight? Is it mowing your grass? It could be a host of other things. And again, I just encourage you to find the one thing and start doing the one thing. And then one will become two, and two will come to become three. And then soon you'll just have a cornucopia of work that you want to do for yourself. And then you'll start making decisions. Well, I'm going to put this one on, on a side, not as an excuse, but hey, I'm going to finish this and then this and then this. And then your life is going to be so filled with things that you're going to do that there's no room for negativity. There's no room for tiredness. There's no room for anything in your life that was dragging you down before, whether it was causing you anxiety or depression or tiredness. It's going to remove it. Every time you put your head on the pillow, you're going to be like, wow, I did so much today. I moved the ball. And even in days that are lulls and the the activities don't happen like you want them to, or the cognitive functions aren't firing everywhere, you still go to sleep with a peace and a joy because you've gone after something that you want. Just merely working on something for 5 minutes a day will start bringing you more joy than had you worked 15 hours before on something else. So again, today we've talked about easy, hard, and what it is, the two paths. A defined path, and then of course the more important one, work that's done for someone else. I encourage you to really take this, ask yourself the questions that we talked about. Does this work bring me joy? Is this the work that I want to be doing? And then be honest with yourself and take a couple days and write it down. Observe your behaviors, observe what you say yes to, observe what you say no to over the next few days, and start really defining what could you cut out of your life that would bring you more time, more energy, more focus, more enjoyment. If you can name a specific one or two things, that could be your easy hard. In the next episode, we'll go deeper into the hard work, how to not only identify it, but then also start applying it to you. And then as we progress in this series, we're going to start talking about, a method, a framework that you can then apply. But before we do that, I just wanted to get, the problems set for people, and then also the definitions of easy hard versus hard, because without that knowledge, no framework, no process is going to help. And again, this framework isn't a tried and true path. It is just merely a suggestion to get you started, to get you moving. Again, I'm very excited to see when people start implementing this, like what works for them and how they come back and give me feedback on this, because again, we're all an N of one. This is an experiment with yourself, but the end result is going to be a better you. It's going to be a more focused, a more disciplined, and most likely a more happy you. Your friends, your family, everyone's going to see it, but most importantly, you're going to see it. I know I've seen it in myself. And the depression that I've talked about several times, it's still there. It comes knocking whenever it wants to. The difference is I'm in such a great mental and physical, emotional, spiritual state that I just allow it to knock on the door, but I don't need to answer. The one thing about easy hard is when it knocks, you always answer. You always let it into your life. Let's stop doing that. Take that list and try to just knock one thing out. Just don't do one of the things. Don't let it into your life. See what happens. All right. Well, I've gone longer than I normally do, but if this resonated with you at all, please, share it with one other person. This whole journey is to help others. And as you can tell, I'm a little bit more excited about this and very passionate about it, because I truly never want to do easy, hard work again myself. And I hope this message gets out to others and they start wanting the same for themselves. Thank you so much for your time. I'm Bobby Shelton. And until next time, chase the hard work in your life and do the work that actually matters.